Okay. Appreciate you having me. And, any time that, one of the biggest things I think in the coaching profession is what's so special is that we have the ability to do this and share our work. And, I have probably, just like a lot of you guys, stolen any, and every good piece of information. I'm not sure there's been a much original thought, as obviously you see things work and you steal it, and try and maybe tweak it or maybe you can make it a little bit better. But I always appreciate, having the ability to get together and work in a setting like this because, just like when I was younger, having a, similar settings, going to clinics and so forth. And people are sharing knowledge with me was the ability to get better. So I certainly I'm grateful for you guys having me, and hopefully guys that are tuning in can get something out of this. And this is going to be about 50 minutes because we are into workouts and things that I got to get back to about 5 or slightly after 5. So the one thing what I want to do is just give everybody my email address. And if there's questions, and I'll take a few questions if somebody's got some here tonight, but if there's things that you want to talk on or elaborate on to greater extent, I'll be happy to help anybody that shoots me an email. And my email is just, very simply C Ragle, my last name. So RAGLE, C Ragle @berkeley.edu. So cragle@berkeley.edu. And then I'll give that one more time before we get out of here at the end of the presentation. And when I was thinking about, hey, what I wanted to do for, to talk on today and kind of get into, thinking about kick return. And, I got a really strong opinion on special teams and how they apply to the game of football. And I think that, with some of the rule changes in the last couple of years, I think people have opted to shy away from kick return for certain reasons. And I still think it's a valuable, very valuable part of the core four. And obviously, if used properly, can help you win games. And obviously that starts with field position. And, before I get in, so I want to share some of the details, the kind of the finite things that we focus on and go through, some drill work and things of that nature more than scheme, because, a certain scheme requires a certain type of return man. And we can talk about all the things that come with that. But I'm going to show you some stuff and would be happy to share some of this stuff with you again later if you guys need it or want it. But I think, I was talking to my wife this morning and just talking a little bit about motivation. And, she said something to me, quote, energy flows where focus goes. Energy flows where focus goes. And I think, with kickoff return, and again, some of those rules changes in the last couple of years, I think people have taken the energy out of kick return. Some people have ramped it up, but, I think if you want to see the results, you've got to put the energy into it. And so we've really focused on doing that here at Cal, coming back into, what was our spring ball that was cut short. And then obviously, hopefully getting back on the train here shortly. We're going to continue to pick up that pace and add some positive energy and really focus a lot of energy into our kick return for this upcoming season. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to get into this and get started and touch on a few things. This is kind of, and again, before I get in deep on this, I tell you this, I started really, coaching some high school football. And then when I went to Arizona State is what really got me in 2005, 2006 with Dirk Cutter. I worked with Tom Osborne on special teams, and that's what really got my interest going in teams. And so that's really where I started to learn, study, and develop, and it kind of grew from there. I certainly had certain kickoff return philosophies that have evolved over time. I think the biggest change probably in my latest evolvement, if you will, was when I spent some time with Coach Choate, who I think does an excellent job as a head coach now at Montana State, but formerly coached special teams across the country and done a fantastic job. He really I spent some time with him, and it really, I looked at some of the things they did and had done, and it really kind of gave me a new perspective. So with that being said, as we move into this, this is kind of what we look at from a philosophical standpoint. All right. We don't have a lot of gaudy goals and things like that. Listen, we believe here at Cal, we break down the numbers and we understand the numbers very well. Our objective, hey, is to create the best field position possible for our offense and give them a chance to score. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd like to score for them, okay? But over the course of the season, we want to look back and we want to show that consistency, that we're giving that offensive starting field position, beyond the 30, whatever that is. But if we're doing that, we're making their job easier. And that's what we're trying to be. And I think that's what I hope you get out of this presentation more than anything, is that we're a model of consistency with some of the core principles that we do here on kickoff return. I think, the biggest thing as we get into our philosophy aside from that is we talk about our major coaching points and understanding the communication, everybody being on the same page. Okay. And then from there, understanding, hey, all right, we know what the return is. We understand where we're going with the return. Okay. So then we got to make sure that we're aligned properly. We understand our assignment. Okay. And then it's going to get into, hey, we've got to execute our technique. We're huge on the big four. That's why we call them the big four. And we harp on these consistently over and over again. At the end of the day, listen, I can sit here and I can talk to you about technique, and I'm going to show you some technique. I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to talk to you about different drills. I'm going to be real with you guys too, though. At the end of it, if you don't have this right here, okay, this guy right here, it's all for naught. All right, great return man is going to make your kickoff return special. Okay, and you can have everybody else up front blocking there. What's off, but if you don't have the guy back there, it only becomes an average return, and a great return man makes an average return team better. So, we really try and find that guy. We stress that, and then we get the guys that block for him to believe that, and then he's got to go produce. Some of the coaching points there, I'm not going to get into all of that. I think one thing that we do, I think that's been really good that I picked up from Coach Wilcox while I've been here working for him at Cal, is that every Thursday we focus on what we call in one of our meetings ST 101, and we do this during camp, of course, as well. Informing our guys and building within them, understanding the rules, whether that be on kick return or any of the other core fours, but really giving them a foundation of major coaching points, but understanding the rules that go into the game so that we try and eliminate ourselves from making mistakes and being, aware of being able to take advantage of certain situations. And, for instance, when we opened up 2018 in the we finished the season, in the bowl game, the Cheez-Its Bowl, the opening kickoff, we were obviously kickoff return team was out there, and we had talked about this. We had shown film on this. We had drilled on it, is that, occasionally you'll catch a kick that dies about the somewhere 1-2 yard line near the out of bounds. So we establish our foot out of bounds and then touch the ball before it goes out of bounds. And it's a kick, deemed out of bounds. And we got the ball at the 35. All right. So instead of trying to return a ball that was a bad kick, poor angle from a return standpoint, but beneath the numbers, we were able to put our foot out of bounds, establish ourselves out of bounds. And that's a kick that is now out of bounds. And we got the ball at the 35. And so nobody really sees stuff like that. But special teams guys that were watching that game, I had a few of them send me a text message saying, hey, man, that's a nice job on the opening return. So little things like that, paying attention to the details, and the ST 101 are huge for us in all core four of our operations here. All right, as we move forward, okay, these are just some of the things that, again, we want to talk about with our guys and understanding where they are. And I think you've seen some of this, in early college football and some of the NFL, and guys trying to field the ball and running into guys and forcing turnovers, understanding where their receiving zones are. Not only talking about this, but we need to go out and drill this, with our guys. And we do, we do this every Wednesday at the end of practice. Obviously ends and fullbacks are catching balls too, but we're taking, hot shots with the guys up front, different types of rollers, understanding, hey, what ball you should field, what ball you should let go, who's responsible for that. If we do get a surprise onside kick, who's covering it, who's looking for the squirted ball, and who's covering the guy that fields the ball up or picking off with a block. Right. So those are all things that we cover on Wednesdays. but these guys need to understand what's important to them and what their responsibilities are on the field, and how they need to execute them. Obviously, something that needs to be drilled, not just talked about. This is how, for us, it's everything we do on special teams, not just KOR, is how we see it. Okay, so if we're the return team and we're looking, to our right, we're going to label things as the R1, R2, R3, etc. Same thing on the left side: L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, etc. Next thing that we talk about with our guys is understanding and maintaining leverage. Okay, so this is big for us. Obviously, we really feel like when you get into kickoff return and blocking for your return man, key is understanding leverage. Okay, where's the return going? Do I have leverage by alignment? If I don't have it, I've got to go get it. Okay, and I think this is maybe the biggest underrated piece of fundamental football and kickoff return that there is guys understanding the leverage that I have or that I need to get. And then not only that, if I do get it or I do have it, being able to properly maintain it. I think that is critical for guys on the kickoff return team. In fact, we won't put a guy on our team that we don't feel understands and has the spatial awareness to be able to execute this in practice, and then obviously having that carry over in the game. And it's not. I think the one thing that has to be understood is guys got to have the spatial awareness. I think this is something that gets overlooked quite a bit when guys understand that, hey, the ball doesn't always get kicked where we tell you it's going to be kicked. That's what happens. Sometimes there's sudden change in the course of a game, and you have to be able to adjust and make sure that, hey, if that ball changes, my leverage has to change with it. And we need to have guys that understand that and are able to move with that and be able to set themselves up in order to execute the return. It's not always going to be the way that we draw it up. Okay. As we get into this, we kind of break things down into a sequence of our front six guys, which is our five frontline guys, if you will. And then we have a joker that plays that sixth position for us. When we talk about the front six sequence with those guys, that's what we're talking about for these guys and how they depart off the ball. Okay. Some of these things we have condensed and really chose to focus on some more than others, but these are coaching points that get covered nonetheless, always at the beginning of camp when we're talking about our kick return. And our front six need to understand, hey, man, that they've got to be able to see the ball kicked. Okay, that's the first and foremost thing. We cannot leave. We drill this ad nauseum, guys, that if we can't get a return if we don't have the ball. So we have to put ourselves in position. We've got to keep our feet planted. We've got to see that ball kicked. Now, as we get more mature guys and guys that have experience, we'll talk with them about clearing their cleats and being able to move just a little bit as the kicker approaches the ball. That varies with the experience of the player and, his ability, obviously. From there, it's key for these guys to, hey, take a look. They've got to flash their eyes and find the return man. Again, we just talked about that, the ball moving on them. And we've got to understand where that ball is and where that return man's going to catch it, set up so that we can draw our line and maintain our leverage. We're going to sprint from there to the top of the contact zone. All right. We are going, and sometimes that's at the 30. I see I got the 30 in parentheses. That changes for us and varies depending on, obviously, on the return. But we're going to sprint to the top of that contact zone, and we're going to get ourselves set up. Okay. We talk about this all the time. This is a major fundamental that we work is active feet, pad level and active feet. We talk about active feet won't get you beat. That's a stickler here, and you'll hear me say that a million times. Active feet won't get you beat. Maintaining that pad level is also huge. So From there, get into our spot, having those active feet, again, drawing that line with your man to the ball, understanding that leverage line. We say, draw your leverage line, understanding, hey, I've got to maintain leverage to my right. I need to be to the right of my man. Okay. Straddling the ball, ball me man. We talk about that as well. But really, it's the biggest thing, again, is understanding the spatial awareness of our guys. And you'll get in, I'll show you some of this here towards the back end of our drill work, just working on our drops. Understanding, hey, this is the return. I call out the return for these guys, and then we're working a half line drop. We may be working the full front six sequence of guys in their drops, and understanding, hey, where they need to be, understanding their leverage. I think it's real critical that you understand and introduce. They understand what the scheme is as a whole, and then it gets broken down into parts, and we continually work the parts until we're able to put the whole piece back together and be fundamentally sound with it. From that sequence of things that we talk about in the departure, we have a very specific set of tools that we really believe in, and we work on these, and especially in close quarter situations, which I'll show you here later in some drill work. But we talk about 3 sets of tools. The fit and the finish is huge. Understanding your fit and how to finish with that is extremely huge in making our kickoff return team. And you guys can read it right there. We want to secure return side leverage and lock out that return side arm. We're always talking about locking out on the upfield shoulder. And that is critical for us. A fit and rip would be a situation where we fit our opponent and we feel like maybe we're losing him over the top. So we're going to rip through at the last minute and rip in front of him and get our body between his and the ball carrier, our body between him and the ball carrier. And then if we feel like, hey, we fit the guy and we're losing him away, behind us, away from the returner, we're gonna spin and back block him like you would in basketball, like you're underneath trying to rebound. So if we feel like we're losing him from behind us, he's trying to backdoor us, so to speak, we'll just spin on him and box him out like we're trying to get a rebound. We really work these over and over again, and you can see that when you watch our film, that these show up time and time again with guys executing, some of these tools on a consistent basis. Okay, some of these things, being very honest with you guys, we have changed. As COVID hit, we were down for 6 months. Went back and took a look at a lot of the things that we have done and how can we get better. So for instance here, we changed this terminology right here, strike and finish. Okay. I think it's important what the kids hear. Words win. Kids win with words, man. Positivity, building them up. They hear all of those things that you say. So when they say, you say strike and finish, you got guys out there trying to strike. They're high, they're off balance. So we say fit and finish. Okay. We still aren't going to be any less aggressive, but we want to be, we want to fit it and then finish it. Okay. We got rid of, being candid with you, we got rid of this here, meet force with force. Okay. And again, I don't want to sit here and sound like we're taking the physicality out of our return, because we're not. But again, sometimes that you get guys that are egregious in their blocking and go-getters, and we've got to calm them down. We've got to fit this block. We don't need a knockout shot. We need to body a guy and give him that half second to get our return guy back by us. And that's all we need in order for us to get great field.
If you would have pulled like $500,000 loan on a 1% interest, we couldn't. What, 100,000 was the highest?
Somebody's got their mute. Yeah, thank you. So then we talk about from there, great body position. This is something we do. I'll show you this drill here in a little bit, just understanding, hey, drops, and we roll the chute out there, and we have them sprint, drop back, and drop underneath the chute so that their pad level is good. They have great body position and great body control. Again, we have eliminated the violet strike. All right, some of these things that we've taken out again is because we felt like we got guys too aggressive, and it didn't end up benefiting us. And so we tried to eliminate that. Active hands and feet won't get you beat. You'll hear me say that a million times, as I mentioned. Okay. Again, talking about those tools, working for proper leverage, keeping the high shoulder, all very, very important. These are things, again, that you see that you guys are pretty consistent with what we do. Again, we talk to our guys about types of blocks that they're going to have to execute. All right. We practice these type of blocks, whether it is a front side or backside single. All right. Circle block we use in certain situations. It's not a block that we use on an everyday occurrence, but it is something that we work. Okay. These are all different types of blocks, but everybody and every kickoff return around the country is going to have a front side single or a backside single. From there, all right, we're very, very big on this. I think this is something that when you watch teams that double, I think you can easily determine who are the really good double teams versus teams that just double team. And in my mind, you know, when you're looking at that, one of the things that I want to see and where I make my opinion is understanding if you can clearly determine, and we classify it as a pin and a post double team. You know, I really feel that at times you see teams when they double team, and I know the rules have changed on this slightly, but you guys still end up on the same level trying to mosh a double team and get movement. They never quite get there. They never get shoulder to shoulder. They get, you know, split or they get split on a side, and then a guy takes advantage of that. You know, great double teams have a clearly, in my mind, have a clearly defined pin and post player. You know, post player is going to be a guy that fits it. He's going to be able to fit the kickoff man up. The pin guy is going to end up now with the rules the way they're written, come in slightly thereafter the post is established, and he's going to close it up. And then we're going to move from there. We're going to move that double team off the point of attack to where we want it to go to open up the hole for our return. I think those are critical. Again, I can't say that enough. Developing a post player and a pin player, and these are things that you have to work. There's, in my opinion, and we can go into this offline, but there's a certain type of body type and a demeanor that you look for, in my opinion, in a post player. The same thing with the pin player, and establishing those guys getting repetition after repetition. It isn't as easy to just bring a guy out there and ask him, hey, we want you to double team this guy. When you do that, I think that's when you start to see those double teams get split and beat on a pretty consistent basis. Again, we talk about this. This is something that we use in our scheme, something that, you know, we've tried to be consistent with. It's changed. Obviously, a chip block, taking some steam off of a guy. You know, we feel like they've got a great cover guy. We may chip him off the get-go just to create some space. I think the biggest thing that guys need to understand in the return game is you win and you create big returns when you get the kickoff team on different levels. Okay, and I know in certain schemes on kickoff, guys, you know, have stacked backers and how they attack on kickoff. But when you can get multiple people on a kickoff team on different levels, you create creases, you create voids, and that's when you win. So, you know, something like a chip block on one of their better players at the beginning is something that really can help you. As you see right here in the drawing, just boom, you know, having a little chip right here, bang the 5, you know, and then maybe you bring a circle block or what have you. But taking a chip off is key when you can do that. You can see the Joker right there, just taking a little chip on the L5 and creating a, you know, slowing him down, maybe creating a little second level there where there's going to be a space. You know, obviously I just talked about the double teams from there. You know, we've gotten into, you know, whether you want to call this a double 3 and then trap 4. You know, we used to say snipe 4. You can no longer, we say screen now because, again, words win. And, you know, these kids are going to listen to what you say and they're going to try and do what you ask them to do.
Hey, Reg.
Yes, sir.
Hey, on the double teams now with the new rules, what verbiage are you using as far as, you know, not trying to avoid getting called on that penalty?
Well, so again, I talk about, for us, we talk about having the post establish the block. And then once that is established, we're telling that pin player, hey, he's coming in immediately after. So there's going to be a delay, but we speak to him in that verbiage. Hey, post is going to establish the block, and then the pin is going to close the door. Or we can't get there at the same time, so we continuously practice the timing of that. But it's post it, and then shortly thereafter, it's pin it. And that's why we really talk to them in that language. The post is going to set it up. The pin's going to close the door. So it's that's the verbiage that we use. And again, we practice the timing so that they understand that post, pin, 1, 2, so that they're not getting there at the same time and getting on that guy and getting the penalty. Does that answer that for you?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay.
Oh, team.
And again, if anybody has any questions, just fire in just like that, please. I just want to make sure you guys get something out of this. If anybody has a question, fire away. Let's finishing up as we look at this screen. And Chip, just again, the screen is, like I said, it used to be a snipe. We want him to fit that. We tell him to fit that, put his face on him. It just can't be, coming from left field and taking a shot on him anymore. That'll be deemed a defensive player and we'll get called a penalty. Again, that's something that we work the timing of that. We sometimes put a bag there so that he comes behind off of that double team and fits it so that he understands the speed and then coming in there and fitting that accordingly. Obviously the wedge has changed too in the kickoff return, single file wedge. This is something that really, I really spent a lot of time with Chodon and he was way ahead of doing this several years ago. But, just understanding the single file wedge approach and making sure that, you're as consistent in drilling this as you are the other pieces of your front line blocks. If you're wedged and the timing doesn't set up with your returner, it's all for naught, and great returners understand, how to stem the returns based on where you're trying to go with it. But all of that is married with what you do from a wedge sequence and understanding how that flows. And the timing is a little bit different when you have single file versus guys, shoulder to shoulder. It's something that you continuously have to drill. Okay, just, for us, our base alignment, if you would, looks something like this. And again, I told you I'm not going to get into a whole lot of scheme, but, we start something like this. Now, we do different things, but this is kind of where we initially line our guys up. And then we move them based on the team that we're playing. If we think somebody, is a team that has a bag of tricks, we may push the guards up a little bit. We may do something different, in terms of where we put the joker. This is just a generalization how we start day one so our guys understand where they're at on the field. I will say this, just a little one-off here, that, from this, establishing our base principles early on, some of the things that we expound upon in the ST 101s that I mentioned earlier is just understanding, now usually at our level, we get, score happens, we get the TV timeout, you've got time to talk to your guys, but sometimes that's not the case. And if there's a penalty that, happens on the extra point or previously, and it's going to be tacked on the kickoff, drilling your guys so that they can adjust accordingly to where they're going to line up based on a 15-yard penalty, and I think that's critical to go over that and have your guys understand that on their own. We have a cheat sheet on the side if we have time to show them, but they need to be able to do that on their own so that they can make the alignment and adjustment. And that all starts, in my opinion, in some of the ST 101 stuff we do, and then obviously walking through that when those situations occur. All right, so I'm going to skip, like I said, right now, I'm going to skip the schemes per se and get into some of the drill work here for the next 20 minutes and kind of just talk about the drills and how we go about coaching them and then answer any questions if anybody's got any. So, we talk about right out the chute, what are the most prominent blocks that we're gonna work on, all right? Front side and backside singles. All right, so here's a front side single, right? So these guys, back that up here. All right, so here's the front side single. We have leverage, so these guys know that they have leverage, all right? The key is getting to a drop spot with good pad level all right? Understanding their elbows are going to be tight, active feet, all right? And where they're punching. We're looking at the breastplates, the numbers, and we want these guys to punch and clasp, all right? We want to lock on, all right? Great blockers are great holders inside the frame. Big key, though, that we're looking for is active feet, tight hands. Boom. Understand? And then you see at the end here, pause this. But this example right here, you see how he locks out that upfield shoulder. Again, the returner, in this case, we have leverage. So the return, excuse me, I apologize, guys. The return is going to be going this way, so they have leverage. So you see right here, he's going to finish with locking out that upfield shoulder. All right, we just say, hey, be careful. Don't get too overextended on your toes, because sometimes that's how you fall on your face. Active feet, tight punch, finish locking it out. Okay, now this is a backside single. They got to go get leverage. Okay, go get it. Go get it. And this isn't great effort right here necessarily by our scout. Okay, make him work a little bit more. Go get the leverage. Go get the leverage. All right, he's got it. Boom. Active feet. Again, you see him locking out. Now, in this case, return's going this way. He's a little bit high, but he's locking out that upfield shoulder. Boom. Okay, same thing with the guy over on the opposite side. Okay. Now, if you take a look, here's some game footage. All right, now UW miss hits this ball, but all right, now understand this, fellas. This is the block that we're looking at right here. Okay, and I'm going to run it back, but this is our center right there. He's probably 6'1.5", probably 210, 215. Right, frontline guy, pretty steady for us. A 2-year player that's played the position. He's ended up picking up a guy who's about 6'3", 260 right here that can run. All right, so odds aren't in his favor. All right, but this is what real football looks like in terms of this is real. This isn't clinic BS here. He does a nice job for what he's up against. Again, miskicked ball, but boom, he stays on there. He maintains it again. Now our returner takes it, where the hole is because the ball's miskicked. We're initially set up so you guys understand to come back this way. Okay, we had a double over here, but neither here nor there. What I want you to see is that's a guy that has active feet. He stays with pretty good pad level, keeps his feet active, all right, and he's able to maintain that block, all right. Guy's bigger, he's running, he's faster, he's stronger than him, but he puts himself in a pretty good position. We'd like to see him a little bit lower pad level, but he's going to be able to maintain that block if the return ends up coming back to his right. I'll give you the end zone on this, okay? All right, here's a situation where he's got to go get leverage. You guys see it, okay? He doesn't panic. He doesn't have the leverage right now. He's got to go get it. He gets there. He puts himself in a situation. He's got a good bend right there. I really like his pad level, all right? And that's all you need. Again, that's not a kill shot. That's, to be honest with you, it's situations like this where we talk about meeting force with force, strike. You guys were trying to be, they were doing what we asked them to do, and sometimes they were just being over aggressive. This is just a nice position block to take that guy and run him up the field and take him out of the return. It's a real nice job. We miss a block here or we got a chance.
Hey, Coach, can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Actually, two. So basically, the only difference you really teach between your backside and frontside blocks is just the leverage that they take, right?
Yeah. I mean, now there may be some angles of departure that differ, based on timing and what they're doing from a kickoff standpoint. But I would say that that's fair. Yes.
And then, and maybe you're getting to it, and I apologize if I'm jumping the gun here, but
No, you're
you
all right.
had that like backside circle, I think you called it, block.
Circle block. It could be a frontside circle block too.
Okay.
You can do it either or.
Could you just give me some of the coaching points for that? I saw that.
Well, so for instance, we may chip a guy, right, the first time. But we may change up our double team, for instance, okay? And so let's say we've got a double on if you could picture 5x5 in your head, we got a double on 3. Let's say we've been running double 3, screen 4, okay? Or trap 4, let's just call it trap 4. Double 3, trap 4.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we may now want to move that double to the 4, okay? And we're going to screen 3. So we might circle block, have that guy attack like he's going forward at the guy he's actually going to trap, then circle back behind the double and circle on him. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it'd be obviously, I don't have some specific video on this particular presentation, but so that's what we're talking about there. So, I could get into a lot of different techniques on this, depending, again, is it a front side circle block? Is it a backside circle block? Are we doing it into the boundary? Are we doing it to the field? What I said earlier in my presentation is key. Guys that understand spatial awareness and understand the path to take to execute said circle block are guys that need to be on this unit. I can coach you and I can show you, I can draw it, as perfectly as possible. But if guys don't understand that spatial awareness and the path that they have to take, they've got to study the kickoff team. And, okay, I'm going to circle block this 3. I got to understand the path that he takes, the consistency in which he does it. And then I've got to be able to adjust my circle block based off of that and what we're trying to ask him to do. I know that's a lot of generalities, but it gets real specific when you talk about a certain scheme.
Right. No, I think it makes sense. Basically, for the backside, you're circling to gain extreme leverage, make sure a guy doesn't trim fat on you. And to the front side, it's almost
and not only that,
ambush.
We could do it that, or we could end up saying, hey, man, we want to come back with the counter to the field, right? So we take our guy that's going to circle block. Maybe they're, as we look at it, right? So their L5 is a beast for them. So we chip him on the way up. So we attack, boom, chip that L5 just to take a little steam off of him. Then we circle back, and we're going to put a circle block on L3 because we're bringing the counter back towards the field. So all of a sudden, the L3 turns around, boom, and we ear hole him right with that circle block as we passed him on the way, taking the steam off the L5, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
You got it. Absolutely. All right. Again, I talked about the doubles and being able to clearly define a post and a pin. All right, we've got our post. Boom, there's our guy pinning it. Okay, we're trying to move him off the block. Now, we missed a block here, or we had a chance to do something special here on this one. As you see here, our left tackle misses, doesn't execute his block, and we get a free runner here. All right, that ends up being the detriment to this, because you're going to see this clip twice, but we get a real nice job on this double team. And for, earlier when you asked me that question, here it is. Boom, clearly post, clearly defined pin, close the door, bang, bang. I'd like that pin player to be a little bit lower, but you're nitpicking, and that's clinic talk. You know what, man? These guys did a hell of a job. And the biggest thing we talk about with these guys is right here. As you look at this, we tell this post player, man, you cannot get beat to your left. Whatever you do, son, do not get beat to your left. And then pin player, whatever you do, you can't be late to the party, right? You can't be late. You've got to close that space immediately. It has to be bang, bang, so that we are able to execute this at a high level, which they do. All right, so this is actually, we went with a double here. All right, and we had some good success with this one here. Okay, now you can see, all right, I'm talking to you. You can see here, we would, in a perfect world, we'd have liked for this guy to make contact first and then pin it. Doesn't always happen like you coach it, all right? So I don't want to be hypocritical. It's not the perfect double. We do have success with it. You can get the movement. And this is what I talk to you guys about, and this is what I'm really emphasizing when I talk to you about this, is this is bottom line about teams and how razor thin it is, because what happens here is we lose our starting left tackle. He's out for this game. He's a 3-year starter for us at that, a 2-year starter. This is going to be his 3rd year, and he doesn't play this game. So we have to put a freshman in here at this position, okay? And we tell the freshman he needs to end up, as you watch him go, okay, what we told him was that he needed to be on the high side of the kicker so he could seal this, okay? He makes contact with him, but he's on the backside when he makes the contact. If he'd have been on the high side, he'd have kept himself between what we said, ball me man, right? He doesn't, and as you can see, that costs us a touchdown. That's the kicker right there, slows him down to inevitably make the tackle. If that guy's not there, we're obviously banging our head on the goalpost. And that's where you talk about being razor thin and not getting, you have to get those reps. Those practice reps are critical with the guys that you're going to use.
Coach, with these double teams, how do you combat the twist game? You
know what? It's a good question. See how much time I got. It depends on, is it a single twist team? Are they a multiple twist team? It all, I guess to answer it, depends on how good a twist team they are. Are they twisting multiple people? Are they bringing guys and disappearing? Are they twisting a guy from the boundary all the way to the field? Depending on the guy that we think that we say, hey, let's look at doubling this guy. If they're going to twist him, to answer you specifically, how much movement do they do with that guy? So in other words, if it's a speed guy and they're going to twist him to the field, we may think twice about doubling that guy. We may change our double. Let's say we've been running a lot of double 3, and then all of a sudden we see these guys are twisting that guy or taking him from the boundary to the field and inserting somebody from the field. If we think that athletically we can get it done, we'll get it done regardless of the twist. If it's he's more athletic than we are, or there's multiple twists, we may just double somebody else.
Gotcha.
Single file wedge. This is just a look at a slow, kind of initial stage of how we work this. This is not perfect by any stretch, right? This was early on. I don't like the spacing here, but there should be more spacing between these two right here. And that's why you do it and work it. And that's why I've got it in this presentation to show it's not perfect. It has to evolve over time. And that's too much of a cake eater look right here, to be very honest with you. I'd like to see the guy coming from the outside here, be more in here in the face. We're going to give him a variety of different looks, and these single file wedges. So the biggest thing is understanding, again, you hear me say this a lot, spatial awareness and understanding spacing so that the stem of the return man is not altered. That thing has to be predicated on countless reps, countless timing in order to hit it, bang, bang, and be able to execute your return. And that's something last year we struggled at because we had to go in and out with different return guys. And when you do that, you can't build the consistency that you need. This is that same return we just looked at. We got exactly what we wanted from SC in this particular look. You know, we screw this up as I showed you earlier. Our end was supposed to be on this guy, and this tackle was supposed to be on this guy that ends up coming back over here. Okay. We knew we were going to be 3 for 3 on this side. We have it fitted. The spacing is excellent. If we get our block by our left tackle, then our off return man is up here on the third guy. And then we've got our kicker. We've got our return man on their kicker 1-on-1, exactly what we want. And we're going to win that battle. But instead, he falls back in, and our off return man has to pick him up. But again, it's a nice job of bang, bang by the single file wedge, one guy away. And that's, you know, I'm tired of using that expression. I told our guys that, and that's why, you know, you really, in my opinion, you have to narrow this thing down. You have to pin it down to a certain number of returns. We all want to think we're smart coaches. We out-coach ourselves. We make it more complicated than it is. You know, it's really about, hey, man, you know, I don't fear the guy that's, you know, practiced 10,000 kicks as Bruce Lee. You know, I fear the man that's practiced, you know, one kick 10,000 times. In order to get good at a return, you have to practice a single file wedge. You have to practice the front side, backside singles. You have to practice the stem of the return guy. And that all changes based on returns, the double teams, so forth. You have to get consistent with these fundamentals that we're talking about here this afternoon or evening, wherever you're located. You know, these are simple things, again, but you hear me saying the same base principles. These guys need to understand leverage. We work on, you know, ball me man. You've heard me use that term several times, understanding, hey, ball me man. You do that, that's good. That's good enough. You stay between the defender and the returner, that's good enough to get our guy for a potential possibility, big play or a score. Just work it. Just work it. Get up on that upfield shoulder. You know, let you see that one more time. And we work this both ways. Don't have it. Go get it. Just no hand sets. All right. Again, the next one we talked about was shoot drops. Just understanding. We want to see guys, they burst, come under a little bit of control, active feet, and work their pad level. Who's got good body control? We're looking for guys. This drill is a great drill to evaluate. Let's see that one more time. Just a good drill to evaluate and find guys. You'll be surprised, guys that you think can bend in space and move, struggle, and some guys, you know, are able to do it that you might necessarily think. So that's a good evaluation drill. All right, I'm going to give you the end zone of this. These are two drills that have been big. You know, we had some guys on the staff that were with showed at UW. This is something they did. We used to do a version of this at Arizona, Lions and Gazelles. Two different approaches here. This is our strike zone in phase. All right, you're going to see the guy get struck, the return man. This is a dual serving drill that we work that serves kickoff and kickoff return. The kickoff return man, because that's what we're talking about tonight, is really going to focus on getting back into his box with good pad level. All right, and understand that this guy's coming down. We tell our kids, keep your head out of this. But from the kickoff standpoint, we talk about VCV a lot, which is vision, collision, vision. When you get in a certain part of the field, you have no other choice but to bully. And so when you do that, you've got to strike and then find the, you know, you're going to see the returner, you're going to strike, and then find the returner again and go make a play. Vision, collision, vision. We know that's coming from the return standpoint. So this is that violent strike where we call fit and then begin to finish from the kickoff return standpoint. All right, we want to get him here, okay? Now, he's high. He's on his toes. That's a little bit too much. His pad level's too high, but he does a nice job of regaining control and coming back under control and maintaining that block and giving just enough time for that returner to get by. That's real speed. We put that at 5 yards because we want that kickoff return guy to feel that speed and feel that stuff closing in on him, because there's nothing like that, having to backpedal and get yourself back and put yourself in a position with body control and bend to be able to take on that block. That's tough, and it's not for every guy. Not everybody in football wants to do that. You find out who does, though, with that drill right there. All right, fly zone here. I'm going to give you the end zone here, okay? All right, the difference between this drill and the previous one is we're telling the kickoff guy now, hey, we want you to avoid this guy, all right? We want to beat him with speed, whether you cross his face or backdoor. We want you to win the one-on-one here, all right? Once you beat him, you can see the 2 cones here at the end. We want you to stack him and finish back inside the cones. Kickoff return guy's job is the same thing, to get his ass back to the box, get set, active feet won't get you beat, and then knock the guy out of the box. Lunges, doesn't get there, he wins. Kickoff guy wins. It's bad placement. Our kickoff return guy never beats him to the spot. You got to win. You got to get yourself back to the spot and get established. He doesn't get there. He turns too early. He's high. He ends up lunging. All the things you don't want to do because he didn't get to the spot first and get himself in that base position with knee bend and ankle bend and have a shot to fit and finish. Again, you know, we talked about this, just some basic drops, understanding, hey, this is the return we're working. Where are you dropping to? What's your leverage? Get there. And this is something, again, saving legs in camp, guys understanding their fits, working their drops, and knowing it. All right, just getting good at where they're supposed to be, understanding the familiarity with the field, where they're supposed to be, how that's supposed to look, what it's supposed to feel like and taste like. Guys finishing on that upfield shoulder all the time. And then we'll do the same thing with the half line. It could be a front 5 or front 6 sequence of guys. You can see on the back end there, those guys are working a single file wedge. They're working that on their own. Our guys here on the front line are working, and that's why I call it half line, just the front half of it, are working on their drops, understanding where we're going with this return. I don't necessarily like the pad level on that, but all right, this is the last one, and I've got to get running. I'll take a couple questions real quick. But this is where we talk about right here, close quarters. We do a lot of stuff here with the fit and finish, working that upfield shoulder like you've seen a lot of these guys do, or the fit and rip. Okay, hey, guys beat me over the top. Guys beat me over the top here in this case. So now I'm going to rip through him right here, you know, with my left hand. And so I stay between the defender and the ball carrier. And then again, if I was losing him on the backside, I could spin out and block him like I'm blocking out for a rebound, a back block right there. Okay, we work those a ton. Close quarters, you can't do enough of this stuff. It's great for kickoff return, and it saves guys' legs. You don't have to open it up. It's even better than a 30 or 40 yards, 20 or 30. Hey, you can do this in a 5, 10 yard area.
Coach, is that one like a competitive drill, or is that guy just?
You know what? At times it is. We do both. It's a great question. We do both. Sometimes we tell the guy, hey, this is what we want. Go whoop his ass. We're talking about the scout player. You got to win. Sometimes it's just say, hey, we're gonna slow it down. We're gonna teach a little bit more about hand places, tight elbows, how we're gonna work. Early on, it's really a lot about teaching the fundamentals. And as we get going a little bit more, we ramp it up. And then as we get into game weeks, it's more now we've got this down. Let's just go polish our product.
Great, thank you.
You got it. Listen, guys, I've got to run. cragle@berkeley.edu, and I mean this. If you guys have any questions, this whole thing is about people, taking care of coaches, just doing right by the profession and trying to help everybody get better. So if you guys have questions, you need anything that you think I can help you out with, it's just cragle@berkeley.edu, and again, my last name Ragle @berkeley.edu. Shoot me an email and I'll get back to you and get you whatever you need. Before I